So the first statement here is that everything we just talked about is laid out here on the screen in a very architectural way. So we're taking our data from our different legacy systems, and the first step, as we talked about, that 30 and 60 days, is crawling through that data and doing two things for it. One is that we are cataloging each one of our tables and our attributes so that we can understand what could be part of our master data management system. What is the definition of a customer to us? We might have name and email and phone numbers, but we might find some unique things that are mastered customer information that's sitting in our legacy systems. And that is where the Boomi data catalog and prep is going to be able to catalog that for us. And then from that, we'll be able to create our models and do our match and merge process. The other part of that first 30 to 60 days is that we're doing the data profiling. So as it catalogs it, it is building out glossaries, and it's building out definitions of this looks like a city, this looks like a state. These are different character sets of numbers versus varchars and min and max and nullness. And that data profiling will allow for us to find problems in our data. And we will then be able to take that and create in our Boomi integration layer as we go and read data and move it in the master data hub or move it downstream in our ERP systems, the ability to clean and enrich that data. We'll create those rules using Boomi Integrate or using third-party tools like Locate or Dun & Bradstreet to enrich and validate if an address is mailable, if an email is correct, if a phone number is correct. Those are things that those third-party tools will do. So natural processes, we crawl and understand our data, and then we take action through Boomi Integrate and into master data management for match and merge, building out any UI workflow in our flow screens, and then getting it out to our outbound ERPs and back to those legacy systems and back to our analytics layer, which then gives you that ability to catalog and understand what attribute is the right one for the reporting, as we just talked about it. To do all that, today we're talking a lot about that data catalog and prep. So I look at data catalog and prep in 4 different catalog categories, and this is what I'm going to show you guys on the screen. The first is the data governance. So being able to know who has the right to view data, who has the right to see specific pieces of an attribute and can put definitions in, but also having the ability to connect to it. And we're going to show you all the different ways that we can connect to data, how it crawls through that data and finds you the metadata. The third area that we look at is the data quality. So as it crawls through the data and does profiling, it's going to provide us the nullness, the mins, the max. It's also going to provide us what it thinks using AI to say it's city, it's state, it's a phone number field. So it starts looking at trying to categorize all your data for you before you even get into it. And the last is the data context. And that's basically going on and building those glossaries and those business terms so that each person can log in and understand more about their systems and be able to use kind of our Google search to come back with the result sets of, I need to look for a customer name. I need to look for attributes that have this kind of field populated in it. So I'm going to quickly keep spinning forward into our data catalog and prep environment. So this is our data catalog and prep. So the first thing that we look at is on the left side is our full navigation screen. In here, as we start a process, the first things we're going to want to do is we're going to look to how we're going to connect to our data. So this is where our adapters have many different systems that we continue to grow and expand in. We do have some universal connectors to connect to systems that are not listed out here, like JDBCs and different just API HTTP clients. But as you can see, we have a whole array of different systems that we can connect to. I know in my environment, I have Master Data Hub and I have Salesforce installed. And as we install that, it allows us to go into our different connectors, which we call our data sources and data stores. So I'm going to show you our data store. This is where we'll be able to quickly, using our wizard, push the plus button here. It's going to open up a whole entire store for us where we can say, what is the adapter? What is our domain name? And as I push next, it would give me the username and the password and the tokenization. and we can quickly connect to those systems using those wizards to connect to Salesforce, to SAP, to MDH. And from that, as soon as I added this in here, the piece that we go into is our Explorer. And Explorer shows us all the different parts and pieces of what we have connected in our systems here. So if I pick my Salesforce AIM data and I go and explore it, and we go to that data set, and this is a really quick, and I'm showing you, if this was like a cell phone, I'm showing you how to text and call. We're not doing Angry Birds or anything like that. So there's a lot more in here today. But as we talk about just exploring our data sets, we can see down here, as I look at my data sources, my Salesforce AD that I created. And what it did was it automatically started crawling through those systems, identified all these tables for us. As I click into account, which is one of the more popular tables in Salesforce, it is going to show me what it has assessed on that Salesforce. So these are all my different columns that it found. It even found all my custom columns. And as you go across this, it starts telling you, hey, this looks like a city and this looks like a state. And we've determined that through AI determination that it is. So we're going to start cataloging it for you like that. And we can go into each one of these columns. So if I go click on columns here, we can go into each one of these columns and I can start saying, let's go look at state. And as I look at state down at the bottom here, we start seeing all of our nullness, our uniqueness. We start seeing what is holding the most data in it. So right now I have 3 records that are Massachusetts and everything else is kind of 1. The big part of this is that as I go over to my right, I can start looking at my values and start seeing things like Florida versus FL. These are things that we will go into our integration layer and start correcting it as we load the data. We need to start coming up with a standard for state. It needs to all be FL for Florida. When I see Florida spelled out versus Florida as a FL, we start seeing things like England. England is not a state in the United States. So we're going to need to address, like, what are we going to do with England going forward? So this is our way of starting to look at all of our different attributes and profiling results. I'm logged in as an admin, so I get to see everything. But as I go through here and I just go randomly pick a record ID, we can start saying in this case that this record is PII. And typically, if it was a social security number or a credit card number, the system's already going to auto detect it and say that this is PII, and that it will start masking it until you tell it it's not PII. But as an admin, I can come in here and say, this is PII, and I can mark it as PII, and I can mask it all, or I can do a partial mask or partial show of those attributes. And so as a steward comes into this, they will not be able to see this record fully because I'm now marked it as PII, and I now have it as showing only the first 4 character sets. And so as we looked at that slide where of data cataloging, data profiling, connecting the systems, there are two other areas in here that we want to talk about. And one of that is the data security. The data security, as we come in here, is this access area. And so as I'm in as an admin right now, there are going to be a lot of other individuals logging in, and they might fit what we call out of the box data analyst or data catalog manager. And you can create your own as you go along. But as we go through here, we can start saying, can you see data? Can you view data? Can you update the data? So as we start talking about the glossary here in a minute, you can start seeing that we can change and adjust this and add people to each one of these different kinds of catalog or groups of security, or we can create our own security group and make all the different allow and revokes. So the last piece in this really quick 10-minute demo is when I was in my account Salesforce. So as I click in here and we were looking at all the different columns and profiling results, is that we have the ability to look at lineage. So we can look at connecting data or looking at data, how it's connected from, it came from SAP or Salesforce and it went to Master Data Hub. And this is that transformation logic. and then it went to a data warehouse. That's where the lineage comes into play. But the other important one that I like is data dictionary. Data dictionary, what it is doing is it is going through our different tables and starting to provide the technical definitions of what those attributes are. And then what we do from a governance side is we start saying, well, what else is important to us that we need to start cataloging each of these attributes on? And we can provide that as a column in here to say, my column might be this is a DCP demo for who is the owner. And we can go through here and say, back all the way over here, that the name field is owned by the marketing department, and the type is owned by the sales department. And so we can start naming groups or individuals that are responsible for updating and managing each one of these attributes as we look at a more enterprise environment or centralized environment. The other part of this is that if I come in here and say Ryan Hartley 1 as a definition in here, and we actually save this and close out, that if I come into just my dashboard and say I'm looking for Ryan Hartley 1, we get a whole entire Google result set that tells us all the different environments where Ryan Hartley is sitting in the name of the table, the attribute of the table, but it also goes in and looks at all of our data dictionaries. And this is now where I had that attribute. I can scroll all the way over to our new column called DCP demo, who's the owner, and we can see that Ryan Hartley 1. So it does a really great job of indexing and allowing for users to log in here and say, I'm looking for customer data, I'm looking for certain types of data, in this case, Ryan Hartley 1, and bringing that to the page.